What is an assembly in C#? In C#, an assembly is a compiled code library which is used for deployment, versioning, and security. In C#, we have two types of assemblies: executable and dynamic link libraries, DLLs. Now, let's take a look at the assembly's main features. Each assembly contains a manifest with a set of metadata that has the assembly version, culture, publicly exposed types and resources, and also this manifest lists other assemblies that are referenced by this particular assembly. Another key point of the assemblies is versioning. Assemblies can be versioned, which allows for managing multiple versions of your application. And the other important key points of the assemblies are security, deployment, strong names, reflection, IL, and resources. I'm going to quickly discuss manifest and versioning, and then you can probably learn about the remaining features on your own. So let's take a look at the manifest. What is a manifest? And is there a way to examine the manifest of each assembly? If you want to examine the manifest of an assembly, you can use a tool which is installed with Visual Studio, and it's called ILDASM, which is actually a interpreted language disassembler. And all you have to do is find the application on your hard drive, launch it, and then click on the file, open, then navigate to your assembly. Let's say your DLL, open it, and you should see the assemblies manifest. Okay, so I went ahead and created a new console application. I left it as is. There's no additional code. I didn't add anything. So let's examine the assemblies manifest quickly. Okay, this is the assemblies manifest. And let's find out what information we can get from here. And now on the screen, you can see all the data that we can get from the assemblies manifest. You can pause the screen and read it if you want to, and I'm going to cover the assemblies versioning in a little bit more detail. Again, this is my console application, and if you open the assembly info file, this is what I'm seeing right now. And this is the assembly file version. We have the assembly information version. And finally, we have the assembly version attribute. The assembly file version is used for the physical file on disk, and the assembly information version is actually a string which is intended to be used for informational purposes only. So we're going to focus on the assembly version. Now, when it comes to the assembly version, you can see we have numbers. The first one is the major version of the assembly. Basically, when you make significant changes, or sometimes breaking changes, you increment the major version. The minor version, which is the second number here, is incremented when you make minor feature additions or significant fixes. And then you have the build number, the build version, which is the third number, and typically corresponds to the build number of your CI process. And finally, the last number, this is your revision, and it's incremented when you make incremental fixes or revisions. This might vary from one company to another, but typically the major version and the minor versions are incremented by hand manually. And then the build number is incremented automatically by the CI system. Basically, if you use Azure DevOps, GitHub Actions, or Bitbucket pipelines, the build number can be automatically incremented using a built-in variables and custom scripts within your CI/CD pipeline configurations. And then the revision number is sometimes incremented automatically, similar to the build number. And this was another quick tutorial from me, which tried to cover the assembly's main features. Thank you for watching.